Let's hear from Roberto Gonzalez.
Low fuel, low fuel. Copy, box this lap, you can stay in the car, fuel only.
So he's had the bingo fuel alarm, which is a whatever else you do in life, do not pass the pits because you won't get round another time.
So you can see it on his dash there, it was flashing red, 3.44, that's the litres remaining in the car. So he's got 3.4 litres until he's running on air.
Yep.
But luckily for him, he's coming through the Porsche curves, and he'll pass this Porsche around the outside, flick it into the left of karting, and then after the quick chicane, he'll bleed into the pit lane.
Konstantin Tereshchenko making short work of the Porsche as well, and behind him, closing in, is Phil Hansen. So this is now the second place car. Will Owen also in the pits for United Autosports. So the top two in LMP2 are in, and so is Duquesne, which means, as Phil Hansen follows him in, Jackie Chan DC Racing and the number 37 car of Ho Pin Tung will cycle back to the top of the pile, because Jota took the 37 car out of this pit stop cycle deliberately, sort of half a stint away from their 38 Jota car, which we ride on board with, so that they didn't constantly have the cars stacking up. Driver change, out will get Konstantin Tereshchenko, and into the number 30 Duquesne car will be, oh, Jonathan Hershey. I thought he'd driven already. So are they cycling round after?
Oh, and the 32's got caught there by the Dragon Speed car, just sort of getting pulled back a little bit as Paul di Resta, eyes I recognise very well, just plugging himself into the 22.
So Paul di Resta was the man who triumphed in Hyperpole, claiming the LMP2 pole for United Autosports. First ever Hyperpole winner in LMP2. That's a feather in anybody's cap.
Gonzalez just coming into the pits there as the Jota car accelerates out.
Interesting, isn't it, that Jota and Algarve Pro Racing have gone on to the Goodyear tyres. Of course, next year, all the LMP2 cars will run the Goodyear tyre. I was speaking to Sam Hignett, the boss at Jota. I think there was a slight financial benefit to it all, but also to get a jump on the competition for next year.
Exactly right, and also Goodyear needed teams in the competition this year so they could work on the tyre performance so that they've got a good tyre for the LMP2 cars, because it's a pretty brutal environment, this car. Look at the sky. You know, we're sitting in a little commentary box, we're not seeing much of the sky, but there's a lot of blue sky up there, whereas there was a lot of very leaden sky earlier on this morning.
Talking about blue sky certainly shining for the G-Drive car number 26, which is in second place. Mikkel Jensen has taken over from Roman Rusinov, and he's very quick at the moment. Jensen was really quick in the long runs in night practice the other evening, and he's carried that into the race. His average at the moment is a 3:33.3 for the 6 laps, which is pretty much, well, it's the quickest so far of that particular car. The only other drivers on an average around about there was Job van Uitert in the 32 United.
It's all the young guys.
Yeah. Well, Job van Uitert, last year, 2 years ago, real sensation when he made his Le Mans debut. Very, very quick young man and quite in demand, and I'm not surprised. Here's our race leader in LMP2, seeing a lot of them because Toyota is still 1-2. Number 8 car just leaving the pits after Brendan Hartley's most recent stop. G-Drive in second with Mikkel Jensen in the 26 car. That's your lead gap in LMP2. Just that little bit of tarmac there, which equates to about a second and a half.
Well, it'll be a little bit less very soon.
Third place, United's Will Owen. Fourth in the Jota car remains Roberto Gonzalez. Paul di Resta, as you pointed out, Alan, taking over United's 22 car. He's in fifth. Jonathan Hershey was getting in at Duquesne. He's in sixth. And Julien Canal also stopped for Panis Racing. He is in seventh in car number 31. Vincent Capelier remains in eighth place For Graf, Dragon Speed's Timothée Bouret stayed out in the 21 car, he's 9th. And Matt McMurray moved up to 10th in the 25 Algarve Pro car as the second Dragon Speed car stopped and handed over to Renger van der Zande. Other driver changes, Alex Coigny took over the Cool Racing 42 car. Jonathan Kennard turns his first laps in the pale blue 17 IDEX Sport car. Jakub Śmiechowski makes his Le Mans start for Inter Europol, and those were the driver changes on half the field changed in LMP2.
Coming back to this battle for second place in GTE Pro, I think. This must be a slow zone or something.
Double yellows. No, there's been contact. G-Drive and the Duquesne car of Jonathan Hershey. So what happens here? G-Drive car spins. Hershey can't miss him. Yeah, oh dear. And right at the front of that purple car is all the cooling. That might be a really major problem for Team Project One.
Which G-Drive car was that, though?
That was the one that's just come out of the pit, surely.
No, I think that was Jensen.
Was that Mikkel Jensen?
No, because he's 6/10ths behind at the moment. He's only in the second sector, so it's got to be a black and white flag for Tincknell for abusing track limits, trying to keep the car behind. Yeah, of course, but that has got to be
Ryan
Cullen, actually, that spun exit of the second part of Indianapolis.
And Cool Racing, was it?
Yep.
Was it? No, it was the Duquesne car. Yeah.
It's coming into the pits right in front of us.
And that's not a puncture, that is water pouring out of the radiator of that car.
Yeah.
And that is a massive problem.
I don't know if it's, I think it is actually blown left front.
Well, maybe it is. If he's got away with no radiator damage, he'll be doing very well. 16 is in. Good shout. Ryan Cullen it was in the G-Drive Racing by Algarve car.
Oh, here we go. Serra on Tincknell.
Harry's going to have to give this up. If he exceeds track limits anymore trying to hold the place, they'll get a drive through, and that will absolutely give the place to Daniel Serra.
I don't have to give it up.
Make him work hard, but you've got to stay between the white lines.
I've got to say, they're pretty equal, huh? They're pretty equal on pace.
What I was saying was that he needed to be forceful at the beginning to keep him behind, because, as you said, Jamie, the Serra's on the softer tyre, and the Aston's on the harder tyre. So it's got to wait until that balance will come in, which is probably into the second stint, not even in this stint. It'll be the second stint before the balance of performance will shift from one to the other.
Look at all the bits of bodywork. Those will all be off that Porsche. That wins Porsche. In the pit lane, it was Felipe Fraga at the wheel of the purple car. He had nowhere to go. Ryan Cullen got into Indianapolis too hot in the left-hander.
So Cullen's just spun on his own. Yeah.
And Felipe Fraga, trying to avoid the gravel on the right and the car in the road, had nowhere to go. So Ryan Cullen, he barely made it through the right and then just had too much speed to get it squared away in the left-hander. Harry Tincknell in the yellow and green Aston Martin, just ahead still of Daniel Serra. Serra will be starting to get a little frustrated now. This is 4 or 5 laps. He's been clearly feeling he's faster than that Aston, not able to get by. Well, it doesn't appear to be water leaking, which is very good news indeed for Team Project One.
Well, the rads are not there anymore, are they?
I think they still
on the outer corners like they used to be.
Not in the way they used to be, I don't think, no, because that was really...
Yeah, that's just smoke from the tyre on the splitter, I think.
That's good news.
The problem for Daniel Serra here with the soft tyre is when you're following a car this close, which he's very close, continuously for lap after lap, all that dirty hot air from the Aston is the brakes aren't being cooled as much, the engine's running hotter. In turn, with the front brakes running hotter with less cooling, the tyres start to get a bit hotter. You're constantly in the dirty air, so you're slightly understeering a bit more, perhaps so you're just wearing out that front tyre, and it doesn't help him because he's in his first stint on the soft tyre, and he might have 4 stints to go. So, not the best thing for Daniel here. And to be fair, Harry's doing a great job at keeping him behind.
And Serra's got no options. He can't take an early pit stop or anything, you know. Time in the pits is just anathema to racing at Le Mans, so he's just got to find a way past. He's got to wait until they catch traffic, and actually, that might be a while.
Yeah.
You know, the only traffic they're going to catch that is slower than them is a GTE AM car, and one isn't enough. He really needs a little bouchon to be in front of Harry Tincknell, or alternatively, for an LMP2 car, like the G-Drive car behind, to come by and just be doing it at the wrong place. And that G-Drive car behind is our LMP2 leader, Mikkel Jensen. He's desperately trying to escape Ho-Pin Tung. It's either that or it's Ryan Cullen fresh out of the pits. It is. It could well be Ryan Cullen on an outlap.
Jensen's taken the lead, by the way.
Yeah, Jensen. Oh, well, there's two G-Drive cars in that shot. So we're trying to square off that move before they get caught by the P2 car. Doesn't get away with it.
I think that is
Cullen. Yeah, so that's Cullen in 16, 26 behind. At the back of the shot is the race leader, Mikkel Jensen, who's 1.38 seconds ahead of the Jackie Chan DC racing car of Ho-Pin Tung. So somehow G-Drive have fumbled themselves ahead of the Jackie Chan DC racing car.
Well, they were consistently quicker, much quicker in the stint, and so it was only a matter of time. When we last saw before that whole incident here at Indy, then he was only half a second behind, and so he's been able to get past and pull away quite easily.
Right, is this not a slow zone? Is that not where the debris was? No, slow zone is at Marshall's Post 27.
27's exit of Arnage, that's where it is. That's correct.
But that wasn't where the crash was and where the debris was.
No, the debris was actually just on the straight before it.
Yeah, it spat it out along here, didn't it, of course. So that's where the bits of Porsche got thrown out, and they go green as they leave the slow zone.
Just to give you a little bit, Ho-Pin Tung and Jensen. Jensen's been half a second faster per lap than Ho-Pin Tung on this stint. That's why he's been able to get past and pull away.
Driver change for 33, Mark Patterson out. So who does that cycle into the car? Anders Fjordbach has not driven it yet, so I think that was the Swede getting in. Not an entirely Swedish coloured helmet. Mind you, it's not an entirely red and white helmet for Nobu Yamanaka either, so.
Patterson's done 4 stints in the car there.
Wow. What's the minimum a bronze driver needs to do in the race? Because that must be a decent slice. He's done 4. That's impressive stuff.
Mark Patterson has done a total of 4 stints.
Wow.
In that car.
See, that's how you use these good conditions to get your gentleman drivers laps in. That's fantastic stuff. So Anders Fjordbach silver rated, Mark Patterson is their bronze, and Kenta Yamashita in the 33 car. Beg your pardon, he's not in the 33 car. Yes, he is. Kenta Yamashita, he is their platinum driver. Whoops. That's a big lock-up for the Cetilar Racing entry.
Andrea Bellici at the wheel.
Andrea Bellici, come on, he's the pro. He's supposed to be better than that. Harry Tincknell still holding off Daniel Serra. Now, if Alessandro Pierguidi was a bit arm flappy because they lost the lead and got stuck behind the Aston, how many more laps of arm flappy is he now? Watching his teammate having the soft tyre advantage squandered by being stuck behind because of a pit stop mess up.
And how many seconds has he lost?
Minutes.
Well, he hasn't lost minutes. He's 12 seconds behind the lead at the moment, so they've effectively lost, 15 seconds or something in reality here.
And Sam Bird 2 seconds a lap quicker on that last lap.
Yeah, at the moment 12 seconds is a gap between the lead in this battle, second and third.
And this battle is between the leaders in LMP2. That G-Drive car is the race leader in LMP2. The yellow and black number 37 is second place in LMP2. And Ho-Pin Tung's closing the gap, actually. And through between the two of them goes the third place car in LMP1. That's Gustavo Menezes in the Rebellion number 1. Minute stop and go penalty for high class, car number 33, and car number 86, remind me, that's the Gulf Racing Porsche for speeding in the slow zone. That's a big no-no, because marshals are on track in slow zones.
Side by side.
On the outside, though. Gotta say, this is a bit of a battle. They're both at it. It's quite clear that
he's got a good exit.
Yeah, very, very good exit now.
This is like Ford versus Porsche a few years ago, isn't it? And like Aston Martin Corvette a few years ago as well.
That's a drag race.
Yeah, but he's on the inside now. I think he's got it done. And it's a case of trying to just keep him working. Well, maybe not quite got it done.
Aston comes back.
Harry's going to lean on him using the grippy side of the track.
No, he was on the wrong side of the circuit to do that.
Yeah.
That's not what Serra needs to do, though, is to light up the rear wheels. That'll take a little bit out of them. He's got past, he needs to just pull away now.
He spent many years as a Dunlop development driver, didn't he, for Dunlop, and obviously, and in a Michelin-shod car now.
Son of ex-Grand Prix driver Chico Serra.
Wow,
Who?
Look at that.
Raced in the UK in Formula Ford when?
When we had Formula Ford in the UK.
1977.
Daniel Serra.
No, Chico. Chico, Trevor Van Rooyen, Nigel Mansell, David Leslie.
Yeah. And the clue in why Alan knows about that is his former team boss and mentor, David Leslie, of course.
So and I went to some of the races.
Richard Westbrook given a final warning for track abuse in the other Aston Martin. So Aston Martin now down to 3rd and 4th. It's a Ferrari 1-2. Who would have suggested that after Hyperpole? Sam Bird leads Daniel Serra by 13 seconds.
Be interesting to watch that gap. We just saw the leader as well, Kobayashi in the number 7 Toyota. First time I've seen them for ages.
Yep. Well, the problem is when you're miles out front and there's nearly a minute between them. And again, the number 7 has built that lead, built that lead, built that lead. Jules Gounon being warned about track abuse. Leader. And into the pits comes, Mikkel Jensen. And again, this cycles the 37 Jackie Chan car back to the top of the pile. Now, the 26 G-Drive car is out of kilter with the rest of the LMP2 field, and remind me why it is. They had an issue of some kind, did they? There's a Jackie Chan car going by the Spirit of Race Ferrari, plunging down the hill. Who's in that Spirit of Race Ferrari? Duncan Cameron is now. And Ho Pin Tung leading the race as the shadows lengthen. The sun is now sinking down towards the horizon and now into some more cloud.
Oh, is the 88 Dempsey car out? I think it is.
It is. It's been lapping for the last... Oh, in fact, they've done a driver change. Dominic Bastian is in. So now Thomas Preining has gone out, giving it a bit of a wriggle and a shake. It seems to be OK to me. So they're putting in Dom Bastian, the oldest ever starter at Le Mans.
74 years old.
74 years young. Old men do not start Le Mans. So it's a hydraulic issue for the 26 G-Drive car. So they haven't made any more stops than anyone else. They may just have had a longer stop. G-Drive by Algarve, the number 16 car, has now made 10 stops to everybody else in LMP2's.
It's clearly got a fueling issue and it not being able to actually pick everything up from the bottom of the tank.
That's right. We heard about that, didn't we? So they're running shorter stints. We heard about that earlier on.
I think they'll be able to get the fuel in, but the way the pumps are, they'll not be dragging from the bottom. So therefore, they'll only get to roughly half tank. So they do 7-lap stints every time. You know, normally everybody else is doing 10. So you know that just the whole time delta of what they do on the circuit is completely obliterated by what happens in the pits.
Algarve Pro's number 25 car, Matt McMurray in the pit lane as we ride on board with the race leader, Kamui Kobayashi in the number 7 Toyota. Last time round, 3:32.18, 3:23.18 rather, 3:23.90 for Brendan Hartley in car number 8. As we've seen all weekend so far, the number 7 with a slight speed advantage. Our LMP2 leader, Ho Pin Tung, is 3 laps behind after 73 laps completed by the race leader. And look at this look at the tyre deflection there. When it goes over those rumble strips inside the curb, the tyre almost looked like it's going to be ripped off the rim. Just look at that.
I've got to be honest with you, we put a GoPro just in front of the rear wheel on the outside at one test, and I watched the footage of it in Road Atlanta, which is a very high speed, very high loaded, and I didn't want to get back in the car.
Yeah.
It is terrifying what the tyre goes through and the loads it's going through, and also how it's actually your thing keeping you to the road, gripped to the road and able to go around the corner. Amazing technology.
Ignorance is a wonderful thing. If you knew everything that was going on most cars, you probably wouldn't get back in them. Chetelaar in the pits, Andrea Bellicchi staying in. And the 92 factory Porsche due to stop. That will be a fuel stop only for 92. Race leader continues on his way. Kamui Kobayashi 74 laps in with 4 hours and 19 minutes completed of the 24 hours here at Le Mans. As you can see, looks like a nice late summer evening. Not the sunniest of days, but not bad at all. Toyota 1-2 with nearly a minute between them. Rebellion 3-4. And then Jackie Chan DC Racing 5th overall, leading LMP2 from the 32 United, 38 Jota and 26 G-Drive cars. 22 United Autosports, long-time leaders. They are down in 5th position now in LMP2. Our GTE Pro leader is 27th overall. And that is Sam Bird for AF Corsa in the 71 car, ahead of Daniel Serra. It's an AF Corsa Ferrari 1-2. Aston Martin, who ran 1-2 in the first couple of hours, are now 3-4. Behind them, Porsche starting to climb a little bit as the temperature drops. They're in 5th and 7th rather than 7th and 8th. And then in the AM class, Manu Collar in the 83 AF Corsa car, leading there from Team Project One to GDO Perfetti and TF Sports Aston Martin of Johnny Adam. Nielsen's number 24 car coming slowly back up the order after early problems. That's an LMP2 car way out of sync. And the final car not running now. And is it officially abandon? Euro International's number 11 car stopped under Eric Maris. But Dominic Bastian is the last car running on the track. 61 laps behind the leaders is the 88 Dempsey Proton car that was caught out early on in somebody else's accident. This is Francois Perraudot getting ready to take over the 83 car. There is one slow zone on track, and our LMP2 leaders are going through it, or our LMP2 battle for 4th place going through it. Let's hear now from Mikkel Jensen in the G-Drive car you're looking at.
Car behind is for position. It's the Resta. Copy. Fly brakes up in noise. It's off right.
Oh, he got his excuse in nice and early there. Car behind is DeResta. Copy that, but my brakes are shot. Just, you know, just saying now.
He got the jump on him though at the end of the slow zone.
Sorry, just going back. 4.5 hours and he says his brakes are shot. That's not normal.
He's been pushing though, hasn't he?
Yeah, but you know, in theory, you should be able to do the race without a brake change.
Yeah,
he should.
He may not have exactly used the words "are shot," but he did have a brake whinge, which, as you say, is less than ideal. Suboptimal, I believe, is the technical term for that. On board, looking back at Paul DeResta.
Looking relaxed.
Yeah. Well, you have to, don't you? You look at these drivers, if they're not relaxed, if they're having a flap, then something very major is going on, and that's not usually good.
Oh, a floppy.
Yeah, that's a floppy. Now, half of that disappears into a slot in the ground, and the other half stays out to alert drivers to where they shouldn't be. Driver change in the number 3 Rebellion. Le Mans winner 2020, Louis Delatraz, a rookie at Le Mans. I'll explain in a moment. Makes his, or exits the pit for his first ever real-life lap of Le Mans in a race. He won the virtual Le Mans back in June for Williams Esports. Alex Brundle spots himself on the telly and immediately flicks over to Corrie. So Louis Delatraz in the 4th place Rebellion could make history and be the first man to win Le Mans twice in the same calendar year. The only man to have won it, well, only 3 men to have won it twice in the same season were the drivers of the number 8 Toyota. And that was Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima, and Fernando Alonso, because they won it both at the beginning and the end of the Super season.
Look through that windscreen. That's after 5 laps from being clean in the pits.
Yes.
And that just will get worse, because now the sun's coming down. Any midges and flies that are out will be, or mosquitoes will be, you know, starting to come up. It's mainly on the Mulsanne Straight between the trees. There's a couple of little lakes and ponds and things on the right-hand side. But that's what the driver's looking through. And then there you get some rubber and oil onto it as well, which obviously doesn't help for your night vision.
It's quite, because it's thundery. There were thunder flies around earlier, so there's lots. It's sort of buggy, good buggy temperature weather, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I noticed in one of the pit stops earlier, I counted them actually, there was 10 tear-offs on that windscreen. So they tend to just clean the windscreen for the first sort of few hours of the race, and then once that sun starts to get, which it is now, you'll see at the next few pit stops that they just rip a tear-off off.
And the other thing that really diffuses the light in front of you and causes the little stars is if it gets peppered by stones. If somebody kicks up gravel in front of you, then a tear off definitely off there.
Yeah, but the problem
oil.
is it dents the tear-offs behind it as well, and so you know, in that respect, you've actually got a tear-off strategy in terms of how you run them through the course of the race. That's the stones you were talking about. Perfect.
Well, same for the lights, of course, as well. No different for the lights. They get peppered with everything, and flies, of course, and they rip off a mini little tear off on the lights as well later on. Of course, the strategy for the lights is different. They're just used at night.
Dans les planches, beaucoup plus de vitesse, tiens un peu le trafic. Allez, on a besoin de petits 40, on a besoin de petits 40.
Alan, you parlez de franglais.
It's Coigny that's in the car, who's the amateur, and basically it's also a little bit of guidance where he can try to improve where things are. And you know, that's one of the things about this category, is it's also about the coaching of the driver as well, and there's active coaching going on by the good engineers. But that also happens, we heard that as well, even for, you know, all drivers in that respect. It's quite nice when you're in the car, if you've been in it for a little while, to actually have some feedback for the job you're doing as well, because it, you know, often engineers forget the drivers are human, and you do need a little bit of encouragement, or just even a note that you're in the ballpark in what you're doing, or do you need to try to work on it.
And particularly when you're not in a close battle with somebody, when you're just on your own, some distance from the car in front, in time, and from the car behind, keep it up, you're doing well, tyre strategy is good. And we used to hear that so often on the Audi radio, didn't we, with H and with Lena, just, yeah, you're doing a great job now, just keep it going, we're going to have the tyres ready for the next stint, so your fuel economy is ready, yada, yada.
Yeah, drivers look through a visor, which is a very narrow view of what's happening, which is only the view ahead of them. They don't see the overall race picture clearly. And so in that respect, you do need to give a little bit of advice. But at the same time, the driver needs to understand he can only see his narrow view. And that's sometimes where you do get some interesting radio messages.
Now, interesting when we saw the top speeds from the 4 different classes, highest top speed in GTE Pro and AM, both coming from Ferraris.
Yep.
The AF Corsa car of Giancarlo Fisichella fastest in the AM class, and the AF Corsa car, I think, of the 51 car fastest in the Pro class. Ferrari now 1-2 in GTE Pro. And more bad news coming Porsche's way, I'm afraid. The 92 car has stopped again. Lawrence Vanthoor was in the pits last lap for fuel, has come back in reporting a power steering issue.
Now, you get power steering issues at certain corners, generally through here, like into Indianapolis, because it's very high speed, a lot of load, especially if it's an electronic one, and it goes into saturation mode, but it can't take any more and it just locks up. Thing is that the whole geometry of the car is designed for power steering, so then when it does drop, it is basically impossible to manhandle it around. But if it's more than just those peak points, then obviously it's a much, much bigger issue.
Here is Louis Delatraz then, son of former Grand Prix driver and long-time GT racer Jean-Denis Delatraz, getting a long way around the outside of Johnny Molem in the Red River Sport Car. This car lying in 4th place in LMP1. And as we said, Louis Delatraz, a Le Mans rookie and also a Le Mans winner already this year. Won the virtual Le Mans and makes his real world Le Mans start.
Got to say, I was very impressed with him actually in practice. He was extremely quick. He was on a fantastic lap that got caught with traffic, or he would have been in and around where Gustavo Menezes was able to achieve. And Gustavo said the car was fantastic, really good to drive yesterday in qualifying, especially in the hyperpole. And so, you know, to see young speed coming through, and especially personal point, because I raced against his father. And I've got to say that the lad is quick. Gustavo Menezes just talking about there in the Rebellion, coming around the outside. He's another one that I think's extracting the maximum out of whatever that car can do at this moment.
Rebellion absolutely are pedal to the metal. There's no option here. Anything other than a podium finish will be a very big disappointment for them. And they just got to keep the pressure on, just keep grinding around relentlessly and see whether both Toyotas have got the efficiency and the reliability to make it through to the end. A Toyota TS050 is several seasons in, isn't it? And it is very, very well polished. It's definitely no diamond in the rough. It is a hugely refined machine. But things happen in life, and at Le Mans things really happen. And Toyota, perhaps above anybody else, know all about that.
Yeah, but you've got to be in a position normally where you're under pressure. And the pressure that Toyota's under is actually from their sister car.
Yep.
And the inter-team battle, as opposed to necessarily from Rebellion at this moment in time. So they've got to be clever from a team point of view in terms of how they play it, which is a very difficult thing because, you know, it's like having two children playing tennis. And I suppose the Williams sisters are the perfect example, being, you know, parents who wins, you don't really care which one wins, but you know somebody's going to be not very happy when it gets to the dinner table at night.
Exactly right. Cool racing car coming under pressure here. And this is Alexandre Coigny with Ryan Cullen behind him. Battle for 14th place in LMP2, as you see. And actually, incidentally, while we're on board there with the Rebellion, we went past the number 24 Nielsen racing car. Garrett Grist at the wheel. That car damaged in an accident not of its own making early on, and is climbing back up the order. It's 23rd in LMP2, but a long way down the order, 38th overall. Here comes Cullen, shooting down the inside. And Alex Coigny knew the game was up there. Ryan Cullen with the slipstream, just a few more kilometres an hour down the straight, in a straight line.
Cullen's responded very well. He had that spin at Indianapolis, the collision 97 into the pits. That was in 2nd place. Comes in. I don't think it'll be a tyre change. Drinks bottle change, bit of clean of the screen, fuel in. I'll come back to the Cullen comments after this pit stop.
91 Porsche also stopping. Fred Makovici has just left the pits after fuel only, so remains on the same tyres. Davide Rigon also stopping from 3rd place in the AF Corsa Ferrari. That's dropped down to 4th in GT Pro. Aston Martin now 2nd and 3rd. Harry Tingnell is in the pits, and Richard Westbrook moves up to 2nd. So Aston Martin still very much in the hunt with Ferrari, and a lot of racing to go. But the 92 Porsche GT, the factory car of Laurens Vanthoor, last in GT Pro, and has now lost 2 or 3 laps on the leaders in that category.
Just coming back to Ryan Cullen, after a driver has an off, and Jamie knows this extremely well, you've got to compose yourself extremely quickly. He came back into the pits, back out, and his speed and laps since he came back out, he's done another stint since then, has been actually very good. And that's something for me that's an important thing, especially around here, because things do happen, but you've got to compose yourself very well and not let that lost time make you try to gain it up again, because you can't. Once it's gone, it's gone. You've got to reset and go again.
This is Signetic Alpine. Just saw a driver change. That was Pierre Rag handing back to Andre Negrão. Don't think Thomas Laurent has driven the car yet. last World Endurance race that he was in at Spa, had a touch at high speed with the Racing Team Netherlands car, wrote the chassis off.
He's done 2 stints in the car. Negrau started with a double, Thomas Laurent with a double, triple stint apparently, and then Pierre Rag with a double.
Okay. All right, so
he's done a bit.
We missed watching him. They've been coming up the order, so we haven't seen a lot of them. Andre Negrau ahead of Nick de Vries. They are 20th and 21st for Racing Team Netherlands. Both cars should have been right at the top of the pile. Egidio Perfetti in the Mentos Porsche, chasing Johnny Adam in that red TF Sport Aston. And in front is the delayed Project One car, which now has Ben Keating at the wheel. The Texan car dealer is at the wheel of that 57 car, a regular full season entry. And of course, Ben Keating brought those purple wins colours to Le Mans last year on a privately entered Ford GT. So far, the only race a Ford GT has done in non-factory hands. They finished. They finished on the podium, did they? And then they got DQ'd. Little touch there between the Dragon Speed car and the Duquesne engineering car. Was that for position? It wasn't. That was Jonathan Hershey in the Duquesne car, number 30. And which of the Dragon Speed cars? It was 27 of Renger van der Zande.
So this is a battle for third. Harry Tinkel's back out. Now it's a 71 behind in 4th place. Davide Rigon. Sam Bird did a double stint, and now they've had a driver change to Rigon. Looking at the Aston's times, though, through that stint, it got quicker and quicker, and so the averages were not very good at the beginning, but then he speeded up, so those tyres are sort of giving them some stability. But behind, I think he's got a soft tyre, Davide Rigon, who'll be quite keen not to be sitting behind him in the same way that Serra had to do.
Someone else that's doing a great job actually at the moment is Mikkel Jensen in the G-Drive car. He's managed to pull out a 2.43 second gap over Paul de Resta. Let's not forget, Paul is a mightily experienced racing driver, DTM, Formula One, and a racer in FIA WEC.
And there we have Daniel Serra into the pits. He was the effective leader because of the various pit stop points of his teammate specifically, who had the driver change. And now you see this car's coming through. And so this is the battle for the lead, whether Serra can get out of the pits before Tincknell gets through. Tincknell going to be overtaken round the outside by the now Nick de Vries. It's in the recovering 29, the jumbo LMP2 car. I think that 0.5 of a second ebbs and flows between 0.5 and about 1/10.
And we've just seen Richard Westbrook and the sister Aston Martin 95 in pit lane as well coming in. So 2 Ferraris in the pit lane. The Aston Martin Ferrari battle in the pit lane and Aston Martin Ferrari battle over the finishing line at the moment. Now concern over...
Oh, it's a lead. So now he's gone from 3rd up into, I think, 1st. So that should be Tincknell into the lead of the race again.
Now, was that a particularly slow stop from AF Corsa? In comparison to Aston, it was.
Driver change and I think tyres.
Yeah.
Whereas with Tincknell, they did that at the previous stop, so therefore it's a bit of a pit stop cycle. Looks like Aston are 1 stop out relative to Ferrari on that. And the Ferraris are, we assume both cars are on soft tyres, where the Aston Martin, we assume, is still on the medium.
We do get that information on our timing screen sometimes,
yeah.
So we should be able to see at some point who has what tyres.
It's they've got, all tyres have got like a barcode in them, and as they come out the pits, then there's 2 cones they have to drive through, and that automatically gives the information whether those tyres are tyres that are allocated to that car within the allocation, because they have maximum tyre number allocations, and then it allows us on occasions to see what they've got. Clearly the teams don't want to give that information, because if it comes to us, it goes to the opposition, but that's part of the game. This is the battle for 1st, which is another game.
And the leader in LMP2 in the pit lane right now as well. Will Owen has brought his United Autosports 32 into the pits. A little bit of concern for the battle in GTM for me. Egidio Perfetti, sorry, under investigation for his conduct in the last slow zone. So whilst there is, was 7.5 seconds between them, that may well be a penalty for 56 if he is judged to not have done it correctly. Good run from the Ferrari out of the chicane, right under the rear wing of Harry Tincknell in the Aston Martin, and David Rigon trying to line him up as he go into the Mulsanne, but Harry Tincknell covering the inside line. It goes right here, and he is on the right-hand side. He will want, if he can, to sweep to the left-hand side to straighten that braking zone into Mulsanne. He does so and covers David off for the moment.
Yeah, he did. The Ferrari actually is very, very good in the chicane. Now, that is a little bit, I think, tyre grip. And that was where Tincknell got overtaken by Serra, was coming out of that corner. And he gave it up quite early the last time. Clearly, he's not too keen in giving up the lead this time. If he can keep those Ferraris back at this stage, then later on in the stints, it's going to give him a big advantage. If he can't, it's about basically trying to protect as much as you can. But right now, he's got to try to just think long game of keep them back as much as I can, but without risking too much.
And confirmation on the graphics just a second ago that there is a difference in tyres with mediums and softs being used in this battle.
Different engines, isn't it? Ferrari very much a mid-engine car, Aston front engine, and maybe the Ferrari is just a little bit kinder to its tyres and they've gone to the softs slightly earlier.
Or they didn't make the mediums work, is the other thing, because sometimes you can actually have one compound of tyre that you can make work really well, and someone else can't, and vice versa. And
it just gives the driver the confidence to attack the racetrack. But great battle, isn't it? I mean, these guys, Harry before this, Daniels before that, a great battle now for the last hour between these two. 1959, was it? Roy Salvadori in the Aston, and I can't remember who in the Ferrari 250, was it?
I wasn't around. I didn't come to the race that year. So Martin. 56 has got a 1 minute stop and go penalty for speeding in that slow zone.
Yeah, so Diego Buffetti, I mean, he was within shooting distance of Johnny Adam, but indeed Adam with much greater pace, and the gap's already out at 10 seconds. So now he's going to drop well down in the AM battle and hand second in class to Tom Blomqvist right now, who had a miserable qualifying session right at the tail end of the field for Hub Auto, but right now will be running P2 after that stop-go. Into the pits for the 8 car, the Toyota comes in for a service. Brendan Hartley aboard that car. For a few moments we saw the two Toyotas running close on track, but they are on different strategies after a puncture early on. Brendan gets a sip of water from a water bottle handed to him by a mechanic. The fuel goes in, there are no tyres, there is not another driver, so once that fuel is full, Brendan can take the 8 car back onto circuit. Look how the head is thrown back into the seat. The acceleration of these hybrid machines that only leave the pits under hybrid power, just unbelievable, the torque that they produce. And you can see that the way that Brendan's head was just thrown back. Yeah, Ben, it's instantaneous torque. Oh, and Tincknell's lost the rear there, so that's exactly it. Just with it, he hasn't got the power down, and he's now dropped down into second. Got a bit of slide. The Aston Martin, a bit of side drifting, but ultimately I think this is going to go in the direction of the Ferrari. Side by side, they've gone through the first chicane, now the second chicane hooks to the left-hand side first, so that should be advantage Ferrari. The Ferrari wants to get as far across the right-hand side as possible, kind of forces Harry off the road a little bit there and claims the racing line into chicane 2, and all the more Daniel Serra is being drawn into this battle, as we also have an LMP2 trying to thread its way through. Not sure I'd be too happy about that, because that was in the braking area moving across and he wasn't completely in front. You know, it was certainly on the limit, robust, shall we say. Johnny Adam in. Fuel only for the TF Sport, the leading GTM car. And here's a replay again. He's moving across, but he's definitely, and he's forcing the issue, but it's this point here where he's actually, like I say, it's on the limit. But I would suggest that this is a very long race, and David Rigon, at some point, that'll come back. And now, Harry is suddenly having to look well in his mirrors, as well as looking to attack Rigon. He has Serra behind. A great little battle forming. By the way, 30 seconds behind this is Richard Westbrook in the Aston Martin 95 car. the first of our Porsches, is another, well, nearly 2 minutes back from that.
I'm just looking why that is, and there was 2 stints that really stood out. Maxime Martin took a good 2.5 seconds out of Sorensen on 1 stint per lap, and the other one is Tinknell took another 8/10 out of Richard Westbrook on that lap. So the last 2 stints have not been good for that number 95 car.
Yellow flags at Arnage, but only for a few moments' time. The flag was on the exit, and now it's been moved to the entry.
35 looks to have stopped there. Yeah, there it is in the gravel trap. That'll be a local slow zone, I think. That's beached. No damage, just needs pulled back out.
Looks like it's on the... Is it on the left-hand side? Oh, on the exit of Arnage.
Yeah, it's in the exit. He's locked up coming in.
We had concerns over how fast Yamanaka would be in that Eurasia Motorsport car, a culmination of 4 years of work, and as so many of our gentlemen drivers have, a tick on their dream to compete here at Le Mans. But ultimately, for the moment, ending in probably what will apparently become quite a clumsy off.
Oh, and there we've got a battle now for second, so it looks like the Astons dropped down to third. Ferrari 1-2.
It's all about rhythm, isn't it? And just being unsettled there, just losing the rear end at the first chicane has really kind of rustled Harry's rhythm. And now look at the distance between him and David Rigon. For lap after lap, they've been running together. And now the gap down to 2.5 seconds.
Worryingly, it kind of looks how fast the Ferraris were. And he did a good job to keep them behind as long as he did.
Let's welcome him back into the box. A change in our team. Jamie Campbell-Walter going off for a well-earned break. And from the blimp of Goodyear is Mr. Goodwin. My tweet was rubbish, by the way.
I didn't see that, but yeah, sorry, amazing. Amazing. I better not start talking about it, otherwise I'll forget to talk about the race. But thank you very much, Goodyear. That was a quite astonishing experience.
Did you go up?
I did. Absolutely amazing.
Where do you think he's been for the last 2.5 hours?
To be honest, I didn't know.
So Yamanaka in the gravel. We got a quick shot, by the way, in the garage there of his good friend, and the man who's been handling his driving opportunities here, Hiroshi Fushida, ex-president of Dome, of course, and actually one-time Formula 1 driver in the Mackie back in the 70s. Slows out to protect the recovery sites at Arnage.
Yeah, the slow zones, it's quite interesting how they really do make sure it's a long way before the trouble zone. This slow zone starts before Mulsanne. The crash, or the incident, we should say, is at Arnage. There's got to be a good 2.5–3 kilometres between the two there.
Could well be that they're also taking the opportunity to do some more clear up. If there's a little bit of debris or floppy that's been dislodged, it could well be that that's in the mix as well.
Especially at Mulsanne. There's plenty of floppies to dislodge.
Indeed. This is a team that's not enjoying their Le Mans so much at the moment. The Porsche team, GT Pro. Gulf Racing, though, going strongly. Ben Barker bringing the 86 car in.
Had a penalty earlier on. Yeah, that's where Graham was a few hours ago.
If you look carefully, Jean Todt aboard at the moment with Gerard Deveau and Pierre Fillon.
Was it good?
It was absolutely amazing. It's so stable, so quiet, but the view is amazing. If ever you get the opportunity, which I've had and you've not, Al.
That's one thing that you have done that Alan hasn't.
That is probably the one thing.
The only thing.
I'm frightened of heights.
No, don't start down that road.
Isn't it that when you're in something like that, you don't realise that you're high up because you're just on you're standing on a stable platform?
It's really stable. I mean,
yeah.
there's one of our TV camera operators in the airship, and I was having a chat with him. There you go. There's the 35 being lifted clear.
No damage at all to the front end of that car, so it hasn't made contact.
So if they're lucky, it might just be a matter of lifting it out of the gravel trap and getting that car back. But rather more woe for the 92 Porsche.
Yes, now Martin, I think, reported on why that car was in the pits, but I don't remember exactly what he says. So I think we need to get our pit reporter Hayley down to Porsche and find out exactly the reason for so much of it being taken apart.
It's an issue with power steering, I'm being told.
Nice little montage of some of our heroes of Le Mans. I've seen a couple of messages that we focus too much on the cars and not enough on the humans. So there is a little human montage of these. Some courageous, some super fast, some achieving a dream here at Le Mans. Some will race only here one time and tick that box. Others will become legends of the sport, as we have in our commentary box today.
What, Peter Dumbreg?
Oh, that's true. We've got Peter coming back with us soon.
Yes.
He's got to finish his coffee. We've got Legends Corner, actually, haven't we?
It is Legends Corner.
Alan and Peter in the same...
Yep.
On board with the 7, clearing a bit of traffic there.
Tête Rouge and that classic site, the run down Renaudière.
We're not far away from getting some glowing orange sky, I wouldn't have thought. There's quite a lot of cloud around, but it's wispy, and I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed for a nice sunset.
I think there's every chance. There's not a lot of cloud around.
Bit of concern if you do go on radars as to the fact that there are a lot of thunderclouds to the south of us. It's about 2.5 hours south where they are. It's actually where I spent a night before coming here to Le Mans, and confirmation that there is horrible weather down there. But the front is traveling very slowly because there's another front pushing it south. So it's traveling north, there's another front pushing it south, and therefore I don't know. The forecast for here is no rain until about 6 in the morning at the moment, if you look on one website. Well, Alan's got a different one that says a different thing.
It's only been quick so far, hasn't it? So there you go. That's his Yamanaka
and he
back and running. Now. Good, that's good news.
Take the car into the pits, give it a bit of a clean, make sure there's no gravel in any of the ducts or around the discs, and he can continue. And it's dance time in Toyota.
Yep. Toyota's got talent.
Toyota's got talent. Brilliant. And this is a traditional thing that Japanese do, isn't it? The day before they go to work, the women get together and they dance.
I think it's a team thing. It's a fitness thing. It's basically just get the blood flowing.
Let's get down to Hayley, who is in the pit lane with us, and Graham was reporting an issue with the power steering of the 92. Is that correct, Hayley? Hayley, you are on it.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So yeah, well, Graham's absolutely right. It is a steering issue. I just spoke to Alex Steerling, who's head of operations. He said it is a problem with that. It is fixable. He has no idea when roughly the beer coming out, but it's fixable, which is the good news. So they will be heading back out again.
Yeah, but for the opportunity to take victory, that's pretty much gone now, losing so much time. What are they, 5 or 6 laps off the back of the pro field?
That's another of our defending champions that look like they're not going to be in the hunt for a podium finish. Seeing the Alpine having trouble early on, on a run for a third win here.
Sorry, gentlemen. I think we can take out all the maybes and possiblies of not being in. They are not in with any chance of being anywhere near the podium, unless when they're passing past the checkered flag and look up and see it on the right-hand side. But they're not going to be standing on it this particular year, no. Unfortunately. Any problem like this, in those two categories especially, is just impossible because the depth and the quality is so good that you just can't recover from it.
Yep.
I'm very surprised to see so much investigation into every single slow zone that we have. Is it part of the course?
I think it's standard. Yeah, the same as the start. You always see something pop up that says start under investigation. It's not because there's any suspicion there's an issue. As we get a very busy run, 6 cars, 7 cars into play here. And up the inside, almost collecting the rear end of the Jota car was the Racing Team Netherlands.
It looks like the start of the race. There's hardly any cars on the Mulsanne straight, and they've all found themselves on the first sector of the lap. There's a Toyota trying to get through there as well. There's LMP2 cars in there, GT Am and GT Pros, all with different levels of talent. Paul Di Resta's in there, and with Roberto Gonzalez as well. And then this Ferrari 54 really getting in the way as they go through Tete Rouge, and finally there's a bit of straight to sort themselves out, but that got very frenetic.
That's Nick de Vries just trying to get back, claw back some of the deficit that came with the troubles they had with cooling early on in the 29 car.
Toyota moving to the left-hand side of Gonzalez in that Jota car up ahead, and you saw him just being nudged out onto the dirt. That's the sort of place where you can easily pick up a puncture. And so you've got to be very careful. It's not ideal to be doing that, especially when you've got a 30-second gap over your teammate.
Still some sorting out to do with this 54 car. Kind of the cork in the bottle. It's Thomas Fleur aboard that car right now, but still really does look like rush hour coming out of Le Mans on a Sunday.
15 cars in that group.
Rebellion trying to carve its way through as well.
That looks like something that's been set up for a Hollywood movie.
Staggering, isn't it? I know
They're all there. There's a huge queue of them.
You should also see there is not one car from Indianapolis all the way through to the middle of Porsche. And we've got everybody cramped on the straight.
And the marshals frantically waving their blue flags for pretty much anyone and everyone in there. Does look good as we're getting into the twilight hours here at Le Mans. Going to get sundown in approximately an hour's time, and then we'll be into the night. And for the majority of those drivers that have got, those teams that have got drivers with limited experience, they'll have looked to have tried to get a couple of hours with their least experienced driver in the day, because there's so much night. Possibility 56, seriously, again? Edigo Perfetti with a 1-minute penalty from the last slow zone, and now it looks like he's been overtaking under yellows again in the slow zone. But as we mentioned yesterday, once you do something naughty, Eduardo doesn't forget, and so he keeps an extra eye on you, doesn't he?
Oh no, absolutely. But frenetic stuff at the moment. I believe you've mentioned the return to action of the number 88 car.
Well, we got kind of confused by that, actually.
It's back out there, which means we have a record we can talk about very shortly. We're going to go on board, though, with the number 38 car from Judges Sports.
We need to get over that because I can't do anything about that. Then find a way past it.
We are slow on the straights. Pretty much the same complaint that United had earlier on in the race. So
absolutely.
They're battling with United. This is Roberto Gonzalez versus Paul Di Resta. Good effort from Gonzalez to keep with Paul Di Resta in the first place.
Absolutely. Going back to the point where before we heard from Roberto Gonzalez, with the 88 back now on track and with the driver aboard, we have a new record set at the Le Mans 24 Hours. Congratulations to 74-year-old Dom Bastien, who's aboard that car and now becomes the oldest ever starter at this great race. By some distance, by something like 6 years.
It was a great effort from Thomas Brenning to kind of engineer his way back into the race, having made contact with the wall on the outside of the first corner.
So he drove it back, did he?
He took a long time, and it got me confused, and we thought it was somebody else, but then eventually 3 wheels on his wagon, got it back to the pits. Bit more work done, and now they're back out.
Absolutely astonishing effort from Thomas Brenning.
Just coming back to one point you mentioned, as we see the two Ferraris, first and second, bouncing through the Ford chicane. Davide Rigon now chasing his teammate. When we're talking about the weather, I've got it raining and chances of rain from 10, 11 o'clock onwards until about 4 by the Le Mans weather forecasting.
Okay.
So it's
that's the Météo France one.
A bit more local.
Yep. Wow. Well, we're going to see, aren't we?
Well, it had rain last night, and it was correct.
Yeah. And as I recall our conversation this morning, it was absolutely bang on, almost to the minute. The Rain arriving, rain getting heavier, rain leaving us this morning. Glorious evening now, though.
And if it does come, it will come from the south, so it will come and hit Mulsanne first. If that front is not held by the other front that's pushing it south. The fight, there's a battle going on between different fronts. That another race to keep an eye on.
Confirmation, by the way, from Haley down the pits, the number 33 high-class racing car, car that was up in the lead battle with Kenta Yamashita in the early part of the race, is in the pit garage with gearbox issues and has dropped to the bottom of the LMP2 field at the moment.
Some sexy slow-mos from our director. It's that time of the evening, and it's the time of the evening at Le Mans where everything just becomes beautiful. The gravel is becoming more orange. The sun is getting low in the sky. It's not something that drivers particularly like when that sun gets into their eyes, but the sun is out. I mean, shouldn't it be over here? Oh, it is there. It's behind our timing screens in our commentary box. And a little bit of light cloud just stopping it from being too strong, but certainly colouring the sky right now for the next 45 minutes or so before it drops behind the horizon and we are plunged into a tricky night is forecast for sure. But look at the shadows, the long shadows over at Indianapolis and Anage.